much bigger than me, and he can still hurt me. So instead, I'm just going to say a little bit about the secret Steve. So all of you know my brother as being a very responsible, upright, mature person. At Richard's wedding 2 years ago, the saying was he was Papa Stephen because he always takes care of everybody and makes sure we don't get into too much trouble. Whether or not we like his advice. But my favorite Stephen is very different than this. When we were kids, Stephen and I used to be the jesters around the dinner table. So we'd be goofy and laughing and getting my mom and my dad in absolute stitches. If we were really good, my mom would clutch her sides and cease breathing, not being able to make a noise, and Stephen very deadpan announced, "Stage 2 has been initiated." Of course, this would make my mom even worse. And if we were very good, she'd reach stage 3 and she'd fall off her chair onto the floor. That was if we were very good. So as time passed and we got a little bit older and time around the dinner table didn't happen quite as often, then stage 2 didn't happen quite as much. And Stephen was still a mature, responsible, advice-giving, even when it's not welcome, older brother that he had always been. But I missed the goofy one. So fast forward many years, and I am driving Stephen up for his birthday dinner in Barrie at the Keg. We're meeting Catherine, and I'd met her a few times before. Stephen had decided at this point that she was it. She was the one. It was going to happen. And I was still sort of on the fence. But I'm honest, she's heard different versions of this story, different stages of convincing that I required. But at this particular time, Stephen had unwrapped his gifts, and he'd unwrapped the wrapping paper, and it was still folded in the shape of the box. And suddenly, out of the blue, he flipped it upside down on his head and looked over at my mom and just said, "So, how do you like your dessert?" And he had wrapping paper on his head, and here was my brother, the serious one, who was hamming it up again at dinner. And that's when I got off the fence, because I knew that the girl who can love my brother with wrapping paper on his head is the one for him. So, Stephen, I'd like to raise a toast to you for all the advice I never wanted and all the laughs you always gave me.
As the years went on, the frequency of usage went. So it's like when the department didn't talk together. No matter how infrequent it became, we still got we always got 1 of 3 rooms on the top floor facing the view we wanted. And it's like,
at least it's very easy these days. Wow. It's perfect extra. It's like a holiday type of thing.
Oh no, it's very hard. So iron board.
Clean.